friends, welcome back to this Homeschooling Naturopath. My name is Hannah and I'm a homeschooling mama of 3 little girls who are 9, 7, and 5. On this channel I share content related to homeschooling, homemaking, motherhood, as well as naturopathic info throughout some of our videos here. Today's video I'm going to be giving you guys my truthful, honest opinion on the one and only All About Reading Level 1. So if you're interested in hearing my thoughts and opinions on All About Reading Level 1, as well as seeing a little flip through of this curriculum, stay tuned. Alright you guys, so first of all I feel like I need to give a little bit of background into how we have used All About Reading in our homeschool. So I have 3 children. My oldest is 9, my middle is 7, and my youngest is 5. Now my older 2 girls both went to public school. They both started public school when they were each 5 years old. 5 years old is how old our kids start school here in New Zealand. It's almost the equivalent of, I guess, kindergarten in the United States. You know, kids move from preschool when they're 5 and they go to kindergarten until they're 6 and then they start school. At least that's what it was like when I was a kid in California. Here, however, we do have kindergarten, but it is the exact same as preschool, and it goes from the ages of 2 to 5, and then when your child turns 5 they go to public school. That is the norm here. That is what happens. So anyways, my older 2 girls went to public school as soon as they turned 5, and my oldest thrived in reading. She has always been like so advanced. It was honestly like she could read the moment she started school. Like within a month of being at public school, she was bringing home books and she could read perfectly, and I was astonished, as were her teachers. You know, her teachers were always raving about how far ahead she was and how great she was and how smart she was and yada yada yada, which is great. You know, as a parent you're like, cool, my kid is so smart, this is awesome. But then with my second daughter, things were very, very different. She started school when she was 5 as well, just like my oldest daughter. And reading right from the get-go was a huge, huge struggle for her. And exactly the opposite of my 9-year-old, I was being told by my middle daughter's teachers that she was too far behind. She wasn't reading up to the level that she should be. You know, they never directly say that, you know, she's not as smart or whatever, but that's the vibe that you get. You know, being told pretty much that your child is not as good or not as smart as the other children in her class. It is so hard as a parent to hear that type of thing, especially, you know, when our oldest daughter was like so far advanced. You know, hearing the teachers who were also the same teachers that my middle daughter had were the teachers that had also taught my oldest daughter when she was in that year level. So they were like directly comparing my 2 daughters together. Oh, well, you know, when Arabella was in my class last year, she was reading da 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 da. And so you can imagine how being told that one of your children is not as good as the other, gosh, I think back to that time and it was such a sad, emotional time for our whole family, honestly. You know, when I was doing my best to try and support my middle daughter with, you know, with her reading, she would bring her books home from school and, you know, I would we would go together, just her and I, to a quiet place, and I would try to help her read these books, and honestly, every single day, it was a struggle. It was a fight. She would cry, she would throw tantrums, she would just completely break down when it came time to read that book to me. And you know, and so would I, like my poor baby. It was such an emotional time. And then on top of that, being told that she's not as smart as her older sister, that, as a parent, you know, if you've been in that place, I'm sure you can understand that it was just such a difficult time. So my middle daughter was at public school for an entire year and a half before we took her out. Before we began homeschooling, she was at school for a year and a half. And in that time, you guys, she could not read at all. She genuinely, I don't know how they were teaching reading. at the public school she was at, but obviously it worked really well for my older daughter, but for my middle daughter it didn't work. And so after a year and a half of public school, you know, when I started looking at how I was going to teach her how to read, I knew that I needed to start at the bare basics. I needed to go back and like rewire anything she had learned about reading and completely adjust it to suit her brain better. So when I started looking at curriculum to teach reading, one that kept coming up was, of course, all about reading level 1. And so that is where my journey with this curriculum started. And I am happy, you guys. Sorry. You know, and if you've had a child that struggled with reading, you know the struggle. And you know what? I also want to mention here too that my daughter, she was 5 years old. She was 5 and 6 years old when she was at school for that year and a half. 5 and 6, you guys. And I was being told that her reading wasn't up to scratch. It wasn't up to where it should be. Now, if you are a homeschooling parent or you're looking at homeschooling, 5 and 6 year olds, on what planet do we have to force our 5 and 6 year olds to know how to read perfectly? Like 5 and 6, they've literally only been on the planet for 5 to 6 years. Why are we forcing them to know how to read right at this very second in time? Like, they literally have their whole lives to learn how to read. Why is it that I have to fight and struggle and make my 5-year-old cry to read me a book that she brought home from school, you know, when she clearly isn't ready for it? And yeah, I could go on and talk about it for, you know, ever, but that's not why we're here. You guys are here to hear a review about All About Reading Level 1. So I am happy to report that we have now been homeschooling for about a year and a half. My 7-year-old completed this curriculum in August last year, so it took her about 8 months in total to complete All About Reading Level 1. And you guys, excuse me, I am getting choked up thinking about it because it's like an emotional roller coaster. After 8 months and after completing All About Reading Level 1, my baby could read. She can read now. You know, she's 7 years old. She'll be 8 in June this year. And she can read, you guys. I taught her how to read using this curriculum. So what I have to say about this curriculum is that it is incredible and that it was exactly what we needed to learn how to read. My 7-year-old absolutely thrived on this curriculum, and I 100% recommend it to any parent out there. Even if your child is at public school, you know, and they're really struggling to read, supplement with this. Like, this is the best reading program out there, in my opinion, and I 100% would not be without this. This is also the curriculum that I am now currently using for my 5-year-old. So I'm going to share a little bit more about that now, and I'm going to also give you guys a little flip through while I'm talking. Here we go. Alright, so you guys, All About Reading Level 1 comes with several different components. The first one here is the teacher's manual. This has everything in it, step-by-step guidelines that you follow as the teacher in order to teach your little ones how to read. The next thing I've got in this folder here is all of the resources from the student pack. When you buy All About Reading, the full set, if you buy it new, you get the teacher's manual, the student pack, as well as the readers and the cards that come with it. I got this secondhand, so all of the student pack games here were already cut out for me and put into this beautiful little folder, so I have never had to play around with cutting all of this stuff out. If you buy this new, you'll have to actually cut everything out and prepare it yourself. I was very lucky to have found this secondhand. All About Reading is completely chock-a-block full of games. Every single lesson, as you can see here with the student pack, every single lesson has a fun interactive game that goes with the lesson. That is what my kids love most about All About Reading. It is just so interactive, and my kids just think it's a fun game that I'm playing with them, so it's perfect. Here is a little certificate at the end when your child completes it, which you can just photocopy. And again, all of this is completely reusable. You can continue using it for as many children as you need. This program also comes with 3 readers. I've only got this one out at the moment. The other 2 are stored down in my garage, and I was too lazy to go get them just to show you guys. So my 5-year-old is currently working on All About Reading Level 1, and so she has been reading through this reader as we have been going along through her lessons. There's always beautiful pictures to go along with what's being read. And as you can see, it starts out pretty basic, but the really great thing is that the words in the stories are words that your children have just learned and are practicing. So here's the first story here, incredibly basic, very, very simple 3-letter words here. And of course, these readers get more difficult as the program goes on, but it's nothing that your little reader won't be used to with having memorized their word cards. This is the little progress chart so your children can make their way through. And when they get to the end, they get their certificate. We just use stamps or stickers, whatever's going here when we finish a lesson. This is the box that I store our word cards in. Again, like I said, I bought this secondhand, and I've never had the cute little card box that this comes with. Very simple CVC words. These cards at the front here are the cards that my 5-year-old is currently working on. I like to get really creative when using the word cards. We'll lie them out and sort of play a Flora's Lava game, and whenever you land on a card, you have to sound the word out. There's a lot of different ideas in All About Reading to make reviewing the word cards fun for your children instead of having it be a mundane, uninteresting task. This here is like a little card to have your child focus on the word a bit better. All About Reading also comes with these little letter magnets. I have personally never used these. I've never really liked them. They're hard to find. When I'm searching for the letter I want, they're really hard to find. So instead, I have always used these letter magnets here, which I got from a random toy shop here in the city we live in. They're all lowercase, and they have magnets, so I just stick them to our little whiteboard here. And so when we're learning new letter sounds or when we're practicing new CVC words, I'll just get the letters out and make the word here for my daughter to look at and sound out. This is definitely up to you, what you prefer to use. Yeah, this is just what I've done. All right, and now for a flip through of the teacher's guide. So first of all, a table of contents. This whole first section is for the teacher to read. This explains how this program works. And the second section here has all of the lessons laid out for you, exactly what your children are going to be learning, exactly what you're teaching, all the way up to lesson 53. And then in the appendix there, it has a lot more resources that you can use. So the first part of this book is for the teacher only. This is just explaining everything that the program comes with, any extras you can buy. All About Reading has an app, a Letter Tiles app that you can buy, so that's another option if you don't like the little magnet letters. It tells you how to prepare all of the games that come in the student pack. the other things here, the progress chart, student pack, read aloud record, how the games and the warm-up sheets are generally laid out, how to use the practice sheets, and then previewing the readers, the cards, how to cut them out, the frequency at which you should practice these, etc. Some more information about the Letter Tiles app and how to use the letter tiles. Again, this is totally up to you how you want to use these. This page here, how much time should I spend on reading? This is a very important page for parents to read. Spend 20 minutes per day teaching reading. That is something that All About Reading advocates for hugely. When I do this with my 5-year-old, we set a 20-minute timer. If you've not completed the lesson, you stop where you are and you carry on the next day. 20 minutes only, you guys. And then we move into the step-by-step lesson plans. So here we go with lesson 1. As you can see, we're learning M, S, P, and A. It tells you exactly what you're going to need from the student pack, what word cards you need to get the progress chart ready for your little one to stamp when they've completed the lesson. It also gives you really good ideas on how to pronounce these letters. A lot of times when we're teaching little people how to read, we're not actually pronouncing the letters right. So this explains to the teacher perfectly how you should be pronouncing the letter sounds to your children. Showing them how to blend the sounds, moving your finger in a specific way and modeling that to them so that they always know which way the word is going. And then here, this is when you put your letters out on the whiteboard, or if you're using the app, you can, use that. And then you move the letters around, and and while you're doing that, you show them how to pronounce the different words, modeling to them that the words can still be pronounced even if you change the letters. And then it comes with the game. This is called an activity sheet, but I don't know, my kids think it's a game. Pretty straightforward. And then it gives you the 3 word cards that you're going to need to review for your next lesson. And that is the first lesson done. So with my 5-year-old, we generally break these lessons up. Depending on, again, this all depends on your child, where they're at, how confident they are. With my 5-year-old, when we first started this, we normally would break up the lesson into 2 days, 2 20-minute lessons. Alright, so as you can see here, some more games, my children like to call them, some more word cards to practice. And then by lesson 3, you are reading the first story in the first reader. It is always such a huge achievement to read a story, even, a story that's 3 pages long with 1 CVC word per page. That is a huge achievement for a 5-year-old. So reading the book is very exciting for my little ones. My 5-year-old and I do a lesson from All About Reading 4 days a week, and like I said, we generally will break each lesson up into 2 lessons, so really we're only probably getting through 2 lessons a week, which for someone who is 5 years old, it is plenty. And like I said, I always set that 20-minute timer for her. As soon as the timer goes off, we finish, no matter where we're up to. What you don't want to do is get your children really, really tired and exhausted. If your children are tired and fighting you on this, they're not going to be retaining any of the information anyway, so it's kind of just a losing battle all around. They're getting grumpy, you're getting grumpy, and no one's learning. So that's what you don't want to do. You want to stop this before they get too tired. The appendix of the teacher's manual here has a lot of good info into how to teach your children to recognize different letters, some of the letters that kids often get confused by. And there's also some extra resources back here. For example, this Feed the Monster, which these you just photocopy and then you can reuse them over and over again for the different activities. My 5-year-old really likes to feed her word cards to that monster. I've got him printed on a piece of, he's printed on paper, and then I put him on cardboard, and she can stick her word cards through his mouth. So when she reads them properly, she gets to feed them to the monster. Yes, lots of fun, interactive, entertaining games for your children to help them learn how to read. Now again, in this appendix bit here, if your child is struggling with the stories, don't force them, set a timer, only allow them that certain amount of time to read, and, give them a break, pretty much. All About Reading is all about taking it really slow and going at your child's pace. Alright guys, thank you so much for joining today's review / flip through of All About Reading Level 1. I hope you guys have enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks guys, bye!